A Baltimore family is suing Sesame Street-themed amusement park for $25 million in federal court over claims of racial discrimination. They say multiple costume characters ignored a 5-year-old black girl during a meet and greet event. The lawsuit comes after this viral video showing 2 other black girls apparently being snubbed by a costume employee during a parade at the park. Now, Sesame Place apologized in a statement and promised more training for its employees after the video went viral earlier this month. The family's attorney, William Billy Murphy Jr. and Malcolm P. Ruff, join us to discuss this lawsuit. Glad to have both of you on Roland Martin Unfiltered. William and Malcolm, as I said, we covered the news conference that took place on Saturday in New York, where Ben Crump was representing, Ben Crump and other attorneys are representing the two families of 2 young girls who were there, and actually sparked this. You're representing other family members, correct?
Yes, several other families. And the number is getting bigger every day because we've been inundated by news about the park, about other incidents that have happened, about discrimination at the park. It's been an incredible response to our lawsuit. I think people wanted to see something concrete happen other than just talk of an apology.
The initial family, like I said, we were there. They are going to be pursuing a lawsuit as well. They're working with Until Freedom, and there are a number of things that they want to also see done. And so in your lawsuit, what are you laying out? What are you laying out, and how broad is this? And by placing it as a class action suit, are you hopeful that others will come along and join the suit?
Class action suits cover everybody who is similarly been harmed. And so right now we represent everybody who has ever been the victim of this kind of discrimination at the park. And that's why we did it, because I think there are people who are afraid to come forward for various reasons, who may not be comfortable with dealing with the legal system because they've been disappointed with the results in the past, because that's a frequent component in the black community of whether people seek legal assistance. They may have thought that they needed money to join the class act or to be represented. They don't. We pay all the expenses up front of everything, and if we don't get a result, you don't have to pay us one dime. So it's been one of those kinds of days. And here's what we want out of it. And first, let me explain the theory of the case. There's a statute that is rarely used. It's the Civil Rights Act of 1866. There are very few lawyers who've ever used it to get relief, but it's absolutely appropriate here. And there are many advantages for using it rather than going the typical route. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 says, among other things, that blacks have the same right as whites to enter into contracts and to have them enforced. And that was a necessary step because back then, this was a year after the end of the Civil War, after the North won the Civil War, and all kinds of legislation to make sure that slaves would become full-fledged representatives, full-fledged citizens of the United States. All that legislation was being passed. And up until that time, blacks had no rights that a white man was bound to respect. And so this statute is kind of laid dormant. But because we do this stuff so much, we immediately thought about it, and it fits like a glove. Here's what it says. If your contract causes you to be treated unfairly because of race, if you have a contract where you want the same thing that white people are getting, like the same access to this amusement park, the same level of service that everybody else gets, if you don't get that, that full measure of service that everybody else is getting, you can sue if it's because of your race. And this is a very powerful statute. And there are some people out there who think that, lawsuits are only about money. Let me tell you what lawsuits really do. Right now, this industry, this entire amusement industry is shaking in their boots. And if you don't think that they're telling all of their top officials, make sure this doesn't happen to us, then guess again. Lawsuits are that powerful. And so just the filing of this suit has caused everyone in corporate America to hit the pause button who deals with the public at large and say, whoa, do we want to be accused of this same kind of conduct? So you better make sure everything is cool down there in terms of your interactions with black people. You better make sure that you don't do anything resembling anything like this ever again, because we will also be sued. So lawsuits are a very powerful instrument of social change. And so knowing that, we were happy to represent yet another family who had this same problem, and we knew what to do immediately to get the legal ball rolling.
So, Malcolm, how does explain to folks, how does this work? You have these other attorneys out of Philadelphia, along with Ben Crump. Then you have your lawsuit. How does it work if you have multiple lawsuits from different attorneys representing different families?
Well, thank you, Roland. It's good to see you again. I would say that we are hopeful that anybody who is an attorney that's working on these cases and may have a client prior to our filing of the class action lawsuit yesterday would cooperate with us and work with us to achieve all of the relief that we're seeking in the lawsuit, including the injunctive relief that we're looking for, the declaratory relief that we're looking for. Again, this is not just about money. This is about changing practices and changing our culture, right? 1866 was way too long ago for us to be continuing to fight for the fundamental rights of black people. It just does not make sense that we still are having this fight in modern day America. So we know that there are some powerful lawyers out there, and we're hopeful that if there are lawyers that represent other folks in this case, and these cases that involve discrimination at Sesame Place, that they'll work with us to achieve the ultimate goal, which is justice for any black and brown family who's been marginalized, who has been snubbed, who's been ignored, disregarded by Sesame Place.
SeaWorld now owns them. With representing these families, had you had any conversations with SeaWorld prior to filing this lawsuit?
No. In a word, no.
All right, then. Well, gentlemen, certainly keep us abreast of what happens with this case, and we're certainly going to be covering it to its conclusion.
Now, let me add one last thing to the question you talked to Malcolm about. When class actions get filed, there is a period of time when we are the only representatives of that class of people. And when the class gets certified by a judge, meaning that it is as a well-founded class action, then people can make a decision for themselves about whether or not they want to pursue an individual lawsuit or be part of the class. That's how it works. And so nobody is locked in against their will. But we hope everyone will understand that we want to represent everybody who was involved, because when you get numbers, you get leverage, you get power. And the more we see of a systematic nature in these situations, the more we see patterns of discrimination, that shuts down the opposition that says, well, how do you know this was a discrimination? How do you know it was an intentional act? If it turns out to be widespread, all of that kind of criticism goes away, and it brings the company to its knees. And so then they must come up with a fair offer of a settlement, or we go to court.
All right, then. We sure appreciate it. Thanks a lot, gentlemen.
Thank you, Roland. Nice to see you.
Likewise. Thanks so much. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?